Ladies and gentlemen, good morning on this Monday morning. What we saw land just now was an A330-300 from Delta Airlines coming in from Orlando, Florida, 6 years old, delivered in April 2016. It's a Monday morning and we are standing alongside the Polderbaan where arrivals are taking place. At the moment the only runway in use for landings. Benjamin, goedemorgen, good morning. So the next plane coming in is coming in from Tel Aviv, from El Al, a Boeing 737-800, 23 years old, delivered in April 1999. A little bit of a bumpy landing there. You can see that the runway is still wet from the rain we had this morning when the thrust reversers are applied. At the moment the sun is out, although it is cloudy, and we are expecting rain in the beginning of the afternoon, so I'm not sure until when exactly I'm going to be around for. I'll be closely monitoring flight radar along with flight radar. But I think it'll stay dry at least until 1 or 2 o'clock. We'll have to see. We can see the weather coming because it is coming from the northwest. And at the moment, if I look in the distance, it all looks good. Laura, good morning. Said, good morning. Wendy, good morning. And Paul, good morning. Good to see everybody tuning in. If you look in the reflection of the water, you can see that it's relatively calm. The wind, according to the latest update of Schiphol, is variable in wind direction. At the moment, this is the only runway in use for landings. Hopefully it stays that way. With Schiphol you never know, of course. So fingers crossed. Beautiful Neo from SAS. So let me have a look at flight radar. There are several planes underway. The first one to arrive is going to be KLM flight 1002, Boeing 737-800 from KLM, coming in from London Heathrow. That's 22 years old, was delivered in July 2000. And number 2 is going to be Croatia Airlines flight 450, coming in from Zagreb. That's an A319, 10 years old, delivered in March 2012. And number 3 is going to be a heavy, a Boeing 787-10 Dreamliner from KLM, flight 758, coming in from Panama City. And that's a 3-year-old plane, delivered in October 2019. Rainer, good morning. Welcome to the stream on this Monday morning. So at the moment the weather is calm. The weather is coming from this direction, so for the time being we're good. There is hardly any wind. If you look at the windmills, they are standing still. And the smoke from the power plant is rising almost vertically. So no crabbing or exciting landings are expected, but solid, buttery smooth landings. Or at least that's what I think will happen. The water is completely still where I'm standing along. Well, just too late for the reflection. After the Dreamliner coming in from Panama, which is down number 2, is another Dreamliner from KLM, a 7879, coming in from Cartagena. So its smaller sibling, a 7-year-old plane delivered in October 2015. First up is the A319 from Croatia, coming in from Zagreb. And the Dreamliner, the 787-10. Is already visible in the distance. You can see visibility is good. In fact, if I pan a little to the left, you can also see on the left hand side number 3 flying towards the glide slope. Meanwhile, I'm playing around a little with the drag resistance of my panning, the left-right movement. I've now put it in the firmest setting, and I'm going to switch it back because it was a little bit too firm for me. This is much better. I have to make a rather quick left-right movement when the airplane is passing me by, and in the heaviest setting it's too heavy. I cannot keep up with the speed of the plane. So new equipment always takes a little getting used to in the beginning. So here is the 787-10 Dreamliner from KLM coming in from Panama City. Meanwhile, spring is nearing. You can hear the birds chatter, probably. Let me quickly turn around the camera because the second consecutive Dreamliner is getting closer and closer. The 787-9 from KLM coming in from Cartagena will be followed by a 737-700 from KLM coming in from Zurich, Switzerland. That is a 13-year-old plane delivered in January 2010. And now number 3 is an EasyJet A319 coming in from Edinburgh. 12 years old, delivered in September 2010. And behind it will be a Dreamliner, another 787-10 from KLM coming in from New York, JFK. Now temperature wise it's on paper a little colder than it was yesterday. Yesterday it was 7 degrees centigrade or 44 degrees Fahrenheit. At the moment it's supposed to be 5 degrees centigrade or approximately 42-ish. But since there's no wind and the sun is even peeking out in between the clouds every now and again, it doesn't feel cold at all. Where yesterday I was still operating the camera with my gloves on. At the moment I'm operating the camera barehanded, which says a lot for someone who, when it gets a little colder, the first thing that happens is that his hands get cold. Now obviously the temperature will decrease if there are showers, but two planes visible. The first one being the A319 from EasyJet coming in from Edinburgh, and the second one being KLM flight 644, the 787-10 Dreamliner coming in from New York JFK. The New York JFK plane is 3 years old, delivered in January 2020. Folks, if you're new to the channel and you're liking what you're seeing, consider subscribing to the channel. That way you can turn on notifications so that whenever I go live you receive a heads up. It also helps me to reach more people like you and me who like content like this. And here is the 787-10 from KLM coming in from New York JFK. You know, it's very quiet over here. I have the entire area alongside the runway for myself. The plane we see now is an A320neo from Pegasus coming in from Istanbul. It's a 3-year-old plane delivered in February 2020. Behind it will be KLM flight 986 coming in from London City. That's an Embraer 190, 11 years old, delivered in January 2012. Number 3 is going to be a 787-8 Dreamliner from Air Canada coming in from Toronto, 8 years old, delivered in April 2014. So we are seeing the heavies that have crossed the Atlantic Ocean, coming in from several destinations in North America. quickly back to the end of the runway for a little Embraer from KLM. Let's go quickly back to the incoming traffic. Don't want to miss yet another Dreamliner. So this one is Air Canada coming in from Toronto. Behind it is going to be an A320 from Lufthansa coming in from Munich. Cannot see if you guys can see it in the shot as well, but let's focus on this beautiful Dreamliner from Air Canada. Nice to see that they copied, if you will, borrowed the sunglasses look for the bits of, what's it called, between the windows, the front windows of the pilots, the cockpit windows, blacked out, looking like sunglasses. Really cool. You see it on the A320 Neos, you see it on the A330 Neos, and you see it on the A350s. Nice to see that they borrowed it. Makes for a cool look. At least that's what I think. Meanwhile, I'm experimenting a little bit with how to operate the camera the best. Typically, camcorders such as mine have their video screen on the left hand side, and I'm making a movement, a pen movement, left-right movement to the right, which means that it's difficult in this position and with this movement to keep looking at the screen of the camcorder. Also, to make it track smoothly is a bit more difficult, because I have to make a pulling motion instead of a pushing motion, which is harder to do smoothly. So if the camera work is a little shaky sometimes, it's not because my new tripod head is acting up. It's very smooth, but it's the camera operator that is experimenting with how to get you the best footage. You have to make As we saw one of the skipper Scarecrow vehicles, the bird controller, the yellow bird controller pickup trucks pass in the foreground. You have to be very, you have to know that this movement that I'm making is like almost 180 degrees, that you're panning from left to right. So that's, logistically, it is a bit challenging. So I've now tried with my screen on the side, on the outside, to see if maybe that works better. Now I'm standing behind the camera again, see if that maybe works more convenient for me. This is Embraer by the looks of it, a very recognizable livery. Blue but not KLM blue. I think this works better, standing behind the camera, having the screen in the normal orientation, so that I can make a pulling movement with my left hand and operate the zoom with my right hand. So this was Embraer. Coming up next, Delta Airlines Flight 178 coming in from Portland. That's an A330-300, 19 years old, almost touching down already, so I have to hurry to turn around the camera for you guys. I have to say, lighting in the morning, when there's a little clouds out, when you look this way, beautiful, makes for a nice atmosphere. So coming in next is a 777-300ER, KLM Flight 736, coming in from Curaçao, Willemstad. Let's quickly turn around the camera so you guys can see. And the next plane behind it is already visible. That's an A320 from Air Arabia Maroc, coming in from Tangier, Morocco. 11 years old, delivered in September 2011. First up, a 777-300ER, coming in from Curaçao, Willemstad, the Caribbean part of the Netherlands. And you can see the water, it's like a mirror. Hardly any wind. A very nice temperature, or at least with the sun out and no wind. You can feel that spring is in the air. So coming in next is an Embraer 175 coming in from Stuttgart. That is from KLM and 6 years old, delivered in September 2016. Behind it is another ITA Airways coming in from Rome, A320 200, 14 years old, delivered in October 2008. So we're gonna see another one of those bright blue liveried Airbuses in a few moments. First, this Embraer 175 from KLM. Nice long flare, look at that showmanship from the pilot. And again, we saw it yesterday too, these KLM pilots, they always seem to be in a hurry. This one too, keeping up the speed. Now you have to bear in mind that where the airplanes are landing right now, they still have to taxi like 10-15 minutes at least. Particularly now that runway 18 center, 36 center is closed for maintenance, which means that they cannot cross the runway in the middle, but have to go around it if they want to go back to the main platform area. So this is another ITA Airways in the bright blue, already clearly visible, very recognizable livery. And I have to say, a nice shade of blue. Now coming in is an A319 from Tarom, coming in from Bucharest, 16 years old, delivered in November 2006. Behind it, a Transavia relocation flight by the looks of it, coming in from Rotterdam, 737-800, 20 years old, delivered in June 2002. Samil, good morning. Welcome to the stream. Mr. Polarhavet, good morning. Nice to see so many people tune in on this Monday morning. So, for those of you who tuned in just now, welcome to AMS Live. My name is Boy. This is a Tarom A318 coming in from Bucharest. We're standing alongside the Polderbaan, as we did earlier, yesterday and last week. Today, this runway is in use for landings. At the moment, it's the only runway in use for landings. There's hardly any wind, as you could see from the windmills in the background standing still. Smoke from the power plant in Amsterdam West rising vertically. At the moment it's dry, the sun sometimes out between the clouds. We've had precipitation in the morning and overnight. Temperature is approximately 5 degrees centigrade or 42 degrees Fahrenheit. We are expecting rain again later in the afternoon. So besides flight radar, I'll be closely monitoring the regular rain radar. Although I should be able to see the weather coming, as it's expected to come from the northwest. And the way the camera is now oriented is to the north. So to my left, I should see the upcoming weather in time to take cover and close the stream should it be necessary, because heavy rain is unexpectedly on the rise. But I think we're good for the next couple of hours. There is of course this one plane underway, and you guys probably can guess which one I'm referring to already. One flight a day. Very big aircraft. Expected around 1 p.m. local time. So I hope the weather gods are on my side today, and the Schiphol gods as well, so that they don't open, for instance, runway 27 I should say, as a secondary runway for landings, so that hopefully we can see the Emirates A380 Super land in front of us. Fingers crossed. Weather permitting, I am aiming to stick around for the A380, assuming it's going to land on this runway. The next plane to arrive is an Embraer 175 from KLM, coming in from Norwich. 5 years old, delivered in 2017. Behind it is a Dreamliner 7879 from KLM, flight 702, coming in from Buenos Aires after a 12 and almost half-hour flight. This Dreamliner is 6 years old, delivered in April 2016. What you're hearing is another shovel. Not a tractor, but a shovel this time. Further Down the road there is some construction taking place. So the Embraer from Norwich already visible, and the Dreamliner as well. Hey there, Christopher Spence, Noor, goedemorgen. AMS Schiphol live, absolutely, Rick. So I'm going to forgo following the Embraer and keep focusing on the Dreamliner. We've seen many Embraers before. We can always go back to them, and you can see them in abundance in every stream that I'm broadcasting. So let's just stick around for the Dreamliner. Behind it, not yet visible, a 737 from KLM coming in from Manchester, and I can see that Delta Airlines Flight 56 from Salt Lake City, an A330-300, is also coming closer. Meanwhile, the Embraer has just landed next to me. Let me take this moment to grab a sip of water. So, the Dreamliner touching down. Next up, a 16-year-old 737-800 coming in from Manchester. And behind it, can we see it already? The A330. Here, another KLM pilot in a hurry. Of course, it has to vacate the runway in time for the A330 that's following it. Speaking of which, let me turn around the camera so you guys can see it land. It is in the final stages of its arrival. So this is Delta Airlines Flight 56 coming in from Salt Lake City, an A330-300, 18 years old, delivered in March 2004. Another long flare. We've seen it before. And for some reason they often seem to happen with A330s. I don't know why, but same with when those planes take off and they don't retract their landing gear straight away because the brakes are too warm. I cannot recall having seen that happen with other types other than the A330. So coming in next is an Embraer from KLM, an E190, coming in from London City, 14 years old, delivered in November 2008, being followed by another E190 City Hopper, Embraer, coming in from Aberdeen, 13 years old, February 2010 is when it was delivered. So for those of you who were missing their Embraer fix, we got you covered. 2 in a row. If my camera can focus on it. Very high pitch. Pilot keeping the nose wheel very elevated. So that was the first of the 2 consecutive Embraer E190s. The second one coming in from Aberdeen, coming in any moment, and behind it will probably be a KLM flight from Birmingham, 737-800, 15 years old, delivered in January 2008. Meanwhile, I was hearing a bang. I think that was the Schiphol Scarecrow setting off some fireworks. Yep. There's the culprit. Will it be setting off another round of explosives? Another flare? Or will it just stick around? Well, the area apparently is clear again. Meanwhile, that was Amsterdam Schiphol Live, once again, passing by. Meanwhile, I can see that a lot of other people have joined us. Good morning to you all. Hello Goosey, hello Doodleman, Leroy, good morning. Fiery Fox, good morning. Aviation Delta, good morning. Michael Nobis, good morning. Ian confirming the next one coming in. 737 coming in from Birmingham. Meanwhile, I can see one of those Falcons, or what is it? Can I see it? Can I capture it? Where is it? Ah, there it is. Well, it's far away already. Always nice to see how those birds can hover still above the ground like a helicopter looking for prey. Alright, there we go. So this is KLM flight 1422 coming in from Birmingham, 737-800, 15 years old, delivered in January 2008. And yeah, we'll have to see what comes next. I see that runway 27 also is open for landings at the moment, unfortunately. So not all traffic, all inbound traffic is going to come this way anymore, for the time being. One thing I can tell with certainty is that this runway is always one of the preferential runways, together with the Kaagbaan, runway 0624. So they are basically always in use. The secondary runway for landings at the moment. (0927) is a secondary runway. It's only temporarily typically open, not throughout the entire day. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, you will have seen me at the Spottersplatz Buitenvelderbaan, runway 0927, several times. One infamous time when my tripod fell over because of the wind, which I have fixed in the meantime with tent wires that are stuck in the ground at each of the three legs of my tripod. So there's no way in hell that my tripod will ever fall over again. Plus it also adds stability when it isn't windy. But as I was saying, I've been there I think twice or three times already, and it was open for landings when it was windy, and it was after an hour, 1.5 hours or so, that they closed the runway again. So the same I think will probably happen today. Now it's open for landings, but I'm hoping that by the time the Emirates A380 is coming this way, that this one will be the only runway in use again. But that means that traffic is going to slow down, probably somewhat. At the moment we're waiting for the next plane to arrive. Meanwhile, a few heavies are in the traffic pattern for runway 27, we'll have to make do with 2 Embraers. So for those who are fan of Embraers, buckle up. There are 2 Embraer 175s underway from KLM. The first one coming in from Southampton, flight 916. 5 years old, delivered in January 2018. It's being followed by an Embraer coming in from Dublin, KLM flight 934. 4 years old, delivered in April 2018. And behind it is another Embraer E190 coming in from Newcastle, also from KLM, flight 958. 13 years old, delivered in March 2010. Now, there's also a 777-300ER coming this way, probably flight 767 coming in from Bonaire, so another one of the Caribbean islands of the kingdom. I think it's still officially part of the kingdom. Keep saying that, but I don't know for sure actually. But we're waiting for the first plane to arrive, so we'll have to wait a little bit. Don't go anywhere, plenty more coming up. Carlos, good morning from Oslo. Martin, goedemorgen, good morning. Andy Apps, good morning. And Herben, noticing that the KLM we saw land, the 737-800 is the last one not yet in the new Dolphin livery. To be honest, I didn't even see it myself, so good that you spotted it and mentioned it. Meanwhile, both Embraers are becoming visible. Let me also have a look at the weather radar. I have some bad news. There is rain incoming, coming from the west, so I'll have to keep a close eye out. I do see some darker clouds further in the distance. It's not blowing very fast, but I'll have to make sure that if rain is in fact coming this way, that I secure my equipment in time. So fingers crossed that it's not going to come too quickly. But it might be the case that I have to end the stream prematurely if rain is in fact coming this way, and it has been predicted to start raining in the afternoon. I was hoping that it was going to be later during the day. But survival of all my electrical equipment is of course the most important thing for now. Otherwise, it becomes very challenging to do any more live streams in the future. Doodleman saying I've got something like 20 minutes left. That doesn't sound too promising. I was looking at Bioradar, the local app for the weather radar, and I was seeing something, but not everything you see on the weather radar is actual precipitation that also reaches the ground. I will show you what's on my left hand side if after this plane has landed, so you guys can see as well. I'm hoping that there's more than 20 minutes left, but fingers crossed. So I'm standing parallel to the cycling path of the Polderbaan, which a lot of you will probably recognize and know of. Looking to the west, we have the radio tower of Haarlem, Haarlem-Spaarnwoude, and this is directly to the west. Clouds are getting a little bit darker. It's also moving a little bit to the south, so it's west-southwest. The direction, I should say, the wind is coming from. It's not exactly from the west that it's coming. This is the direction where the weather is coming from. So yeah, it doesn't look that good. I'll keep a close eye on the weather radar as well. Nice flare. Look at that. And again, a KLM pilot in a hurry. Ina, good morning. Thijs, goedemorgen, good morning. So, if I turn around the camera, the first plane to arrive is the 777-300ER coming in from Bonaire, from KLM. Where is it? There it is. Okay, my camera, get the focus back. No. There we go. Yeah, it looks like precipitation is expected to begin around the end of the morning over here. Now, as I said before, we'll have to see if the precipitation you see on the radar actually hits the ground or if it's just a false positive. But for now we're good. Folks, if you're liking what you're seeing, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. You can turn on notifications so that whenever I go live you receive an update. It also helps me to reach more people like you and me who also like content like this, help grow the channel and the AMS Live community that is slowly but surely getting bigger and bigger. Also have to be mindful that I'm not standing in the way of my penning handle with my coat, otherwise the handle sticks. Which makes it more difficult to follow the airplane, which is when you see me slow down because the handle got stuck. Okay, next plane coming up is a KLM 737-800 coming in from Brussels, 22 years old, delivered in September 2000, and it's being followed by an Embraer 190 from KLM coming in from Glasgow, flight 1472, an 11-year-old plane delivered in January 2012, and number 3 is going to be a Boeing 737 MAX 9 from Iceland Air coming in from Reykjavik after 2.5 hours of flight. That plane is 3 years old, delivered in March 2019.
Ik moet eerder bij het einde zijn dat het dan niet
So next coming up, the Embraer 190 coming in from Glasgow, followed by the 737 MAX 9 from Iceland Air. And yeah, it just turned on its lights, the 737 MAX. Following the 737 MAX 9 is going to be an E2 Embraer 195 from KLM, coming in from Edinburgh. 1 year old, delivered in November 2021. It seems that there is another E2 Embraer E195 coming this way from Gothenburg. That's also 1 year old, delivered in February 2022. If I would have to guess, it would be that this runway is now again the only runway in use for landings, but don't know that for sure. Didn't have the time to check. Again, squeaky brakes. We've heard it before with these Embraers, also with other types, but I've got the feeling that I hear it the most with these Embraers. And as long as they work, that's the most important thing. Martin, good morning from Essex. Chris Rico on the way from Amsterdam Central to the spotting place. Well, hopefully by the time you get there it's still dry, because the weather forecast for this afternoon is not that promising. And you can see the reflection of the airplane in the water, nearly still like a mirror. And this is the Max 9 from Iceland Air, coming in from Reykjavik. 2.5 hours of flight. So next up, E2 Embraer 195 coming in from Edinburgh. Let's turn around for that. Just about visible in the distance with the landing lights on. Make sure you bring an umbrella along when you come this way, Chris. It's not very windy, so you should stay dry if you're standing out in the rain when there's not a lot of wind, as is the case at the moment. We can see another plane moving in from the background. That's the second Embraer E195 coming in from Göteborg. So 2 E2 Embraer 195s in a row, both from KLM. The first one coming from Edinburgh, the second one from Göteborg. Most likely number 3 is going to be an Embraer 170 from Air France coming in from Rennes. 13 years old, delivered in March 2010. Quickly back to the camera. think this is coming this way, so that does seem to be precipitation. If I look further to the left, it also doesn't look that good. Definitely raining over there. I think this is what's coming my way. So I would say that the likelihood of me having to end the stream before we get the chance to see the Emirates A380 today has increased significantly, because what I'm seeing on my left does seem like precipitation hitting the ground. Goosey asking if I can show you guys the birds in the water. Well, at the moment I have to say I don't see any. The pond is empty. I can't see, but can my camera pick it up as well? I can't see one of those, I think, falcons. But this is the most I can zoom in, unfortunately, so I'm better off turning back to what I can depict better. If my camera gets the focus right. Come on. Come on. Really? There we go. So I can see two planes with their landing lights on approach. Let me see if I can show you guys. There it is. Don't think it's in focus yet. So the first one is the E170 Embraer coming in from Rennes, from Air France. Behind it is KLM flight 1822, a 737-800 coming in from Berlin, 22 years old, delivered in June 2000. And behind it is an A319 from British Airways coming in from London Heathrow, 21 years old, delivered in September 2001. Quickly back to the camera. Hop hop. Let me turn the camera around. The next plane already visible. The one behind it as well. Coming next, British Airways flight 430, coming in from London Heathrow. An A319, 21 years old, delivered in September 2001, being followed by Ryanair flight 5505, coming in from Dublin, Ireland, 737-800, 17 years old, delivered in September 2005. Now folks, if you're liking what you're seeing, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. It allows you to turn on notifications so that whenever I go live you receive a heads up and can join us if you have the time and are feeling like it. It also helps me greatly to reach more people like you and me who like content like this as well. A lot of people into aviation live streams. Help me reach them by subscribing if you will. You can see in the background the windmills have started turning. Wind has started to pick up a little bit. I also am noticing a drop in temperature. So there's definitely rain coming this way. Let me show you guys what's on my left hand side. So this is directly left of me. That's not going to come this way. But what I'm showing you right here is, you can see there's definitely rain coming this way. So I think it would be wise for me to pack everything in and not wait too long. Here's the Ryanair coming in from Dublin. Keeping up the speed and the nose wheel. Lovely showmanship. Okay, so there are two more planes coming, and the second one is an A330 from Delta. So I will be sticking around for the A330. But I'm thinking that after the A330 I'm going to call it quits for today. Better to live another day than to get wet and have my power supply and camera shortcut. So the first plane coming in is an Embraer 175 from KLM, coming in from Luxembourg. Short flight, KLM flight 1740. 5 years old, this airplane, delivered in February 2018, and behind it is flight 162 from Delta, coming in from Minneapolis, an A330-300, 15 years old, delivered in 2007. Both planes clearly visible. Probably quickly vacating the runway so that the A330 can land, as it's doing right here. First exit. Okay, let's quickly go back to the A330 from Delta. The last plane of the day, unfortunately, because of the weather. Again, folks, if you're liking what you're seeing, if you're enjoying yourself, consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. Help me reach more people like you and me who also like content like this. Plus, turn on notifications so that whenever I go live, and that will be very soon, you get a heads up and can join us again for more live action from Schiphol. Going out with, well, not so much a bang, but definitely a roar. You can see when the thrust reversers were applied, the runway is still damp, if not wet. We've had precipitation in the morning already, and it won't be long before it's going to rain again. So unfortunately, I am going to wrap it up for today. Make sure that everything stays dry so that I can live to fight another day, so to speak. I want to thank everybody for joining me this morning. Hope you guys have a nice week. I'm looking to go back live again later during the week. I have to see when exactly it will be. Maybe Thursday, maybe Friday. I am free on both days this week, but it's all weather dependent. So keep a close eye on the weather in the Netherlands. If it's going to stay dry somewhat, expect me to go live again. And if it's not before the weekend, then hopefully during the weekend or maybe next week, Monday. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me. I've had a blast. I hope to see you guys again soon. Take care for now and see you guys soon.